If you traveled for Thanksgiving and are planning to do it again for the holidays, this one's for you.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago, a whopping 54 million people drove 50 miles or more for their Thanksgiving feasts. Hope you guys all had fun. Another 2.5 million hopped on planes to see their loved ones. And then, of course, all that travel came to a cost to the planet. Now, when you consider that most cars emit about a pound of CO2 for every mile driven, planes emit about 53 pounds for every mile flown. That's a lot. That holiday week really added up fast.
Now, of course, we're not saying you shouldn't see your loved one for the holidays, but there are some ways that you and the airlines can make the trip a little more eco-friendly. And our friend, Heather McTeer, Toney, joins us from the Environmental Defense Fund. Heather, we love having you on here. Thanks for coming back to talk to us about this. And, you know, if travelers are weighing their options between flying and driving to a destination, is one better than the other? Like instantly you might think, oh, driving's better. But then I think, okay, Heather, no, wait, maybe a plane is better because there's so many more people using the fuel and everything.
Well, as we all are looking forward to seeing our loved ones during the holiday season, we're also always using fuel. So when we're seeing the air travel return now to pre-COVID levels, it's important to understand how flying affects our health, it affects our climate, and then what's being done to mitigate those impacts for a safe and sustainable future. Because planes use gas, they use fuel. But also, did you know how many people are actually living in and around airports? That's another huge factor. In fact, when we look right now today, 40 million people live near major airports, and globally, air pollution from commercial planes is estimated to be responsible for approximately 16,000 premature deaths each year globally. So this is an area we really need to pay attention to, and believe it or not, there's some creative ways around it.
Heather, before we move on, I feel like I need you to weigh in on the gas gauge thing. Do you fill up once it dips right below, or do you like to live on the edge and let it get really low?
Oh, I will tell you, I'm a liver on the edge person, and my husband is probably not too excited about it. And I was listening. I'm one of those people whose phone probably will get dip down low. Hey, I want to see how far it can go.
Yeah, right. You're using for a fullest.
Right, but I don't want my airplane to do that. I need the plane to be full of fuel when they're flying.
All right, we'll get back on track here.
Well, and I want to talk about the fuel for a second, because if you go to the gas station, you have different levels, right? Whether that be 87, 89, 91, and then you have aviation fuel, which is supposed to be so much cleaner. Is there a point to which we can make fuel clean so that when the airplane is up in the air that it's not actually producing all of this CO2, or do we just have to get rid of fuel completely?
Because the aviation industry is looking at how they can offset their emissions and how they can ensure that they are creating sustainable, safe airline fuel. So sustainable aviation fuels, or SAF, these are fuels that can be produced from a variety of sources like used cooking oil or agricultural waste, and they're mixed with conventional jet fuel to power planes. So when we consider the impacts to the environment and social safeguards, it is good to know that the airline industry isn't only saying, hey, look at your carbon footprint. They are also looking at how they can create more sustainable flight paths. I don't know about you, I don't like really bumpy airline flights. But they're looking at those methods as well as how they can create sustainable fuels. There is a team of experts at EDF that, again, is looking at how can we help companies and individuals really advance high integrity aviation fuels and even create comprehensive guides to how the new sustainable fuels and innovation are going to help catapult us into protecting our climate and our environment.
Are there other things airlines are doing? I know for now, they don't give away the plastic bottles anymore. They fill up the cup, and I feel like they're separating the cups from the trash. Are they doing other things that we don't see?
Well, if you're a frequent flyer, if it's for business or you see family a lot, you'll notice that there in some airlines a little option if you want to, instead of collecting miles, offset that voluntarily to carbon pollution, offset carbon pollution. They're being really creative about how they engage the active participants of flying, the customers, to also join them on this journey. And I think that's a phenomenal way that we're, again, normalizing and talking about how every sector, every industry can do something to help us to protect our environment.
Are these airlines utilizing carbon credits? And if so, will you let us know what carbon credits are real quick?
That's a great question. And I think airlines are looking at a number of different ways that they can offset carbon. And that's a common thing. It's what is a carbon emission and why should I offset it? So carbon is the amount that of pollution that we're putting into the atmosphere that generally makes it warmer. It makes it hotter. And to offset it means that instead of just putting it out into the atmosphere, we're creating something else that will absorb it. So a common use of an offset, or when we think of an offset, is if you put carbon into the air, you run your gas car, but you're also planting a tree because the two offset each other. So airlines are among a number of industries that are looking at how can they offset their carbon emissions, which is the amount of carbon that they're putting into the atmosphere, by doing something else that creates an alternate impact. I think it's, again, a great way for us to all see how we have a way to participate in protecting our climate. And for the airline industry, they look at carbon offsets as well as sustainable airline fuel and how they can bring their customers into participating as well.
So let's talk about that in 30 seconds. We're kind of running low on time here. Is there anything that travelers can do to help?
So the Inflation Reduction Act, I know we talked about it a couple of times, but this is really, it's been a historic opportunity to help transition to a sustainable future. And we want to continue to talk about it and advocate it and let people know, hey, this is another way that we're creating healthy futures for our community. So when you're flying, you're going to see your family, your friends, and you notice in the back of the seat where the magazines are, if there's information about offsetting your carbon emissions, pay attention to it, read it, and look at how you can offset voluntarily some of your emissions, maybe not in accepting those miles, but participating along with the airlines.
Love
Good
it.
chat.
Heather
Thank
McTeer,
you.
Toney from the Environmental Defense Fund. Thank you, and happy holidays if we don't talk to you before the end of the year.
Happy holidays to you.
Her house looks so
Thank you. I know it's
festive.
very festive behind her. We need her to come decorate our homes, right?